Welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Excellence at Work podcast. You will hear from industry leaders covering innovative, cutting-edge business, learning, and HR topics that weave current market research and technology into each episode. Our Excellence at Work podcast is hosted by Brandon Hall Group's Chief Operating Officer and Principal HCM Analyst, Rachel Cook.
Hi, and welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Excellence at Work podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Today, we are talking about outsourcing and partnerships with Suresh Kumar, the founder and CEO of Tesseract Learning. He has over 17 years of experience working with organizations and helping them with strategy, design, and technology. He works with organizations to help them through their business challenges and to propose optimal learning solutions with app learning strategies to enhance their employees' performance and drive business growth. Also would like to recognize and congratulate their Tesseract for winning 3 Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards in 2021. And so today we're going to talk about some of their strategies and his point of view on what the value a learning partner brings to an organization. Welcome, Suresh. You know, it's really nice that we have the ability to connect in this way. And even though we're in different countries, different time zones, it feels like I've gotten so used to the virtual environment. It feels like we're right next to each other. And the weather here has been amazing. So I'm really grateful for the little bit of, we've gotten some nice warm weather along with a little bit cool, fresh mornings, so it's quite lovely.
Fantastic. Mother, we are just entering our summer, so it's slightly hot in Bangalore, but it's still, compared to other parts of India, I think we are still blessed to have a slightly pleasant weather. And evening is always good. And Florida, I will be in Florida in mid-May, so hopefully we'll get to enjoy some weather too.
Oh, that's great. Where in Florida are you coming?
Or ATD.
Okay. Is that in Orlando this year?
Yes, this is in Orlando. And
That's
we are
right.
exhibiting there.
Oh, nice. That's not too far from where we are. We're in Boca, so that's about.
Hopefully we get to meet you in person. Let's see.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we could do a live podcast then.
Yes.
Today we're talking about outsourcing and partnerships. And, you know, my first question I have is, you know, what, from your point of view, what is a learning partnership?
See, for me, a learning partnership is literally a relationship between an organization who wants a learning services and a services provider, right? Like Tesseract Learning, which is holistic, deep, and meaningful relationship, and is intended to create the long-term roadmap for creating the best learning experiences and ensure that there is a performance improvement for the organization. And also, from that, if you want to really make the entire partnership a true learning partnership, right? The engagement will have various components. Okay, some of that could be maybe spending time with the customers to understand the training needs by closely working with the L&D teams or the HR. Sometimes we work with HR teams too. Assess the competency frameworks or competency or the skill gaps that they may have. Jointly prepare a training plan how do we plug the skill gaps and assist learners build that required competencies. Right? In the process, definitely, in addition to implementing training gaps, we also have to propose the right strategies for making the entire initiatives work. And most importantly, because always our programs, right? Training programs have been that, okay, I have a training program today. I will deliver, roll out to customers, I generate reports and then close the report, right? And we all know learners also forget their learning the way we forget about the learner. So how do we create this continuous learning journeys is by implementing reinforcements, which should go beyond the training that I have to deliver today. But most importantly, how do we help learners apply that training over a longer period of time? So that is really very critical. And we have seen that bringing a lot of change. And also today, I mean, learners are disturbed, right? Digital learners today, their
Right.
attention span, as per the recent research, is what, 9 seconds, because there are so many disruptions, right? Means, interruptions in between, like maybe a message coming popping up on my phone. It could be somebody popping up on my Teams or Slack, right? How do we create now? That is where we also have the learning partner has to also ensure that create that right marketing strategies to promote that training program, so that there is create that required buzz, excitement, so that we draw learners to the training programs. And once you complete, and also you have to also assess the learning partnership also includes not just helping the L&D teams to roll out, but also to maybe drive surveys or collect feedback, so that the
Mhm.
findings from that can be infused to enhance the next training program. So, if you means to summarize, this, the learning partnership goes beyond just the training program, right? It could be even mean that there is technology consultation. It could be implementation. A lot of not sometimes what happens we have seen L&D teams may have this strategy, but sometimes their choice of learning technology implementation can impact the way the entire adoption happens. So it's very important that we use the right technology, right learning strategy, right delivery mechanisms to
Mhm.
ensure we meet the both synchronous or asynchronous learning needs of the learners. So
Mhm.
learning partnership is very important, critical. Very few organizations know about that and they
Right.
adopt. Uh, but yeah, there is always scope for introducing something than just trying to keep sit ourselves in a small silo and then trying to see if we can accomplish something bigger.
Right. And what would you say are the key differences between learning outsourcing and learning partnership?
See, learning outsourcing is like developing a content, right? What happens when an engagement in a typical outsourcing model is restricted to maybe specific set of activities. It could be maybe they creating content for you or developing courses. It could be e-learning courses. It could be classroom or virtual training, or maybe uploading it to the customer's LMS or testing or helping the rollout.
Mhm.
So basically, in the entire ID model, use certain aspects of that. Right? That is
Right.
what I mean, for me, it's a learning outsourcing. But however, when it is a learning partnership, what happens? It is a learning partner will become like a performance consultant, where the engagement is deep, meaningful, and helps in creating that long-term strategy relationship, so that learning partner uh, means using their broad experience, right? Because as say, for example, it's Tesseract Learning, we work with multiple customers. So what we could means there is definitely one way or the other we can meet and enhance the uh, entire program, where a partner can review the entire initiatives holistically, understand the business or learning challenges, review the competency frameworks, assess the skill gaps, work closely with the customer in preparing the right strategies, and also deliver the training programs using the right technologies, because which is very important. And all these combined should help us to overcome the challenges, plug the skill gaps, help customer build more competent employee base.
Mhm.
And also, as mentioned earlier, it is also very important. The partner works very closely with the L&D teams to create that comprehensive marketing campaigns, so that there is better adoption of the learning program. So the key differentiator is learning outsourcing is very specific to very few activities. Learning partnership is a much broader umbrella. Yeah.
Right. Learning partnership is an extension to your team, basically. So
Yes.
they should not be considered a separate entity, but really part of your team. And outsourcing, always like to consider, even years back, kind of taking a look at that, what is your secret sauce? What is it that
Mhm.
you um, what you need to develop in house or with your learning partnership versus what you can get off the shelf, which is
Yes.
not that proprietary training, not
Mm.
necessarily key to your core products, but more kind of your your general types of training for skills and competencies and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So I always kind of like to think of that secret sauce, that your weapon, and that you really kind of need to customize to specific to your learning needs. And a learning partnership can be a conduit to helping you both figure out your in-house content and your custom content, as well as your standard content or outsource. What should organizations look to when they are selecting a learning partner?
So, once I feel that they should have a working model wherein once the learning partner provides or works very closely with the organization at all levels of training delivery system. Okay, it's very important from a requirement gathering to working closely with maybe the subject matter experts, creating that learning roadmap, be it a curriculum or a program development, and work with the L&D teams in implementing the program, and importantly, collecting that critical data, maybe to map it to all the 4 levels of practice model of evaluation. And in addition to that, the learning partner, according to me, should be able to assist even customer to use the, I go back to reiterating the same point, that using the right technologies, right, for ensuring that delivery programs are delivered well to meet that both synchronous or asynchronous training modalities. So I think for me, to summarize, there should be a strategy to work with the learning partner, which goes beyond just as an outsourcing arm, but most importantly, to see if we can leverage and use the capabilities a learning partner brings in, which goes beyond just creating course content.
Right. And I would you say that is what the value add is of a learning partner versus an outsource vendor?
So for me, an outsource partner, say, for example, maybe in the analysis phase, they just gather requirements and maybe suggest a type of course or strategy that will meet the requirement, develop the course, deliver, and literally the work will be just follow the instructions given with no value adds even expected, right? Not go beyond the brief. But however, learning partner literally will become as if they are part of a team who understand maybe a business perspective, the challenges that the company, the business faces, and provide entire supply chain of services where it could be including maybe understand the key metrics or KPIs of the function where training is required. Understand whether a course or a blended solution work. Sometimes it could be even when custom solution may not work, maybe as you rightly said, it can bring in maybe off-the-shelf content, right? It could be a performance support kit, okay, that would help employees perform better. Maybe also suggest as to maybe deliverables that will align in the learning, in the flow of work. And another important thing is assist maybe the L&D teams in driving better adoption using definitely varied learning strategies. Importantly, marketing initiative, right? That is so important today. Conduct appropriate, maybe feedback sessions, surveys to generate that feeders to ensure that one is we not only just deliver today, but ensure that take the feeders, put it for the future learning initiatives, because that becomes very important. And at the end, literally work as a performance consultant to help learners drive that training and become an extended arm for the L&D teams. So that's what I see as a learning partner. Outsourcing partner will continue to be, they just follow the brief, deliver what you really want, because that's what they're engaged with.
Right. And I feel and I see that selecting a learning partner is just as important as far as selecting or hiring a new employee or a team. You need to look at the same values and same attributes that you would be in selecting someone to join your organization, as far as their competencies and the culture, the variables that they bring to your organization. So I think it's just as important, and you are you're onboarding a team, maybe an individual for a particular role or needs. What do you also see as, what are the post-training modalities or the role of a learning partner post the training implementation?
So, but I think for me, it is not only just what is important is not just the implementation or delay of the training life cycle, right? It's importantly what do we do post training implementation. So maybe understanding if the performance is improving after the training implementation, propose and assist customer in implementing that reinforcement mechanism to understand the learning gaps, spend time with the business teams, collect variety of data, okay, not just from what comes out from the typical learning management system, but most importantly, that spending time with key stakeholders, business leaders, analyze that data and provide recommendations so that they can assist in the business impact. Another important thing, what we also seen is when we do a proper evaluation, it helps us to identify different patterns, right? Maybe if we have to map it to Kirkpatrick model, it could be a reaction, right? Whether the learner, I mean, starting from as simple as whether somebody liked the course or the training program, and whether they were able to attempt and get through the quizzes or with success. And the next two aspects, which is most importantly the behavior, right? And that is where it becomes important for the learning partner to work closely with the L&D team to understand if the programs were able to maybe modify the behavior of the learner over a period of time, because that is it. We cannot bring in behavioral change in a short span of time. We have to assess as to what kind of impact it has in the long term, and whether that change has brought in any performance enhancement and also bringing organizational change. So the post-training is as important as pre-training because we have to hold on to the learner throughout the learning journey. So we focus a lot on post-training today. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just the training that what I deliver today, but most importantly, how will I help the learner to maybe remember so that they are able to apply that for a longer period of time. So it is important. Maybe I can quote an example, say we roll out a program or a compliance program. What happens is people take that program, and we all know about the forgetting curve, and literally 90% of the training program is forgotten in a week's time. What happens for that compliance? The compliance cannot be just done once in a year. They have to literally follow that day in, day out. So how do we make that happen is through reinforcements that go out so that they are able to recall, remember, and apply in the training. So that becomes important and critical.
Right. Absolutely. And, in our research, we see that almost every organization is outsourcing some level of content, but not all organizations have true learning partnerships. And so in those that do, the return on investment and, it really helps organizations perform better and optimize their capabilities and, increase production, engagement. There's so many different metrics that are demonstrated when organizations, especially high-performing organizations, are working effectively with a true learning partner. What else would you say? From what you see with your clients and your research, how does it impact the learning and performance of employees? Do you have some stories that you can share here?
So for me, as I mentioned, this entire idea of learning partnership is to improve the learning, help employees perform better, right? And we can use numerous performance tools to ensure that there is an impact that is created. Okay, for us, when we have to say what kind of impact, it could be using different ways. It could be learning aids, it could be job aids that assist learners to remember, or maybe help them to perform the same activities, multiple times, because some roles require the proficiency. Literally, they have to. It's literally 0% error, right? They can't just afford to have that. And sometimes we also have seen when, as part of that, to create that right impact, maybe have this reinforcement nuggets which go out so that people are able to recall the key concepts to help on help them to do their job better. And sometimes it could be even just-in-time learning nuggets, right? That helps them somebody recall. Say, for example, it could be a salesperson going for a negotiation. Maybe he wants to just see as to how do you maybe what kind of jargons that they can use. Maybe they can just access some quick learning, and so that has a right impact right there, right? That somebody who was able to remember, take a quick training, and do have a better negotiation with the customer. And when it is, say, aligned with the flow of work, again aids the learners when they are doing at the moment of need, and help and maintain that performance levels. And we have seen that when implement something like that using AR or VR, we have seen that really working very, very well. Okay, so that the impact of this is right there to assess, because somebody who is stuck can lean on something which then become important. And there could be some, maybe we use some resources, right, to push on the learner on demand as and when they require. So there are various ways as to how we can use various strategies to create that right impact, so that there is a positive enhancement of performance of the employees. That's definitely possible and feasible.
Okay, absolutely. And you also have some success stories that you received several Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards in 2021. So, there's some really great examples that you have demonstrated with your clients and their efforts. And I'm not sure if those are publishable. Some of our award-winning case studies are. So if they are, that we do make them available to anybody that's interested in learning more. And then before we wrap up today, what are some of additional services that a learning partner provides that you haven't referenced?
Maybe, I think what other thing I could think of is maybe a learning partner becoming part of the literally an internal L&D team to drive that initiatives by working very closely with the L&D teams and business leaders, and ensure that they drive these initiatives to ensure the planned activities are rolled out on time, drive better adoption using various strategies, including learning marketing approaches, and assist the L&D team in planning for future programs and work with them to drive that successful training initiatives, have better adoption, see that performance, work with the business. And one way or the other, it has to drive for organizational growth. So if we are able to do that, I think that's, as a learning partner, you have done justice to the engagement that you have with the customer.
Right. That's all very important and critical for learning functions, learning professionals. To have, I always like to look at it too, like we're a research firm, and yes, you can do your own research. However, that's not your core competency. So, if you are developing soda, or you are a manufacturing plant of cars, that is your core competency. So you really want to look to an expert that can help you, that has a view of the landscape of all the different learning modalities and technologies and strategies, because they are changing. What we see today and we in today's time frame more than ever, it's so rapidly changing. And so companies like you and we take pride in researching companies like you to be on the pulse of what is happening and what is relevant and what is going to be most impactful. So I think that's where truly that partnership and that impact that company like yours can have in helping organizations perform and develop at their optimal.
So, good to hear that.
On that note, Suresh, is there anything else that you would like to wrap up with? Is there anything else that we can expect to see from you in the coming year?
But as an organization, I think we are at a very exciting journey because in addition to our core services, I think we are doing something very, very exciting when it comes to virtual reality. We are helping organizations run their literally learning fairs on a VR platform. Okay, we also have our Credo platform literally picked up very, very well globally. So there's some, in addition to our custom learning solutions, there are some exciting technology solutions that we have been managing to do. We have managed to do with customers. I think looking forward, I think that's where the next level of our engagement with customers, going beyond not just be working as a learning partner to provide just content services. There's definitely a lot of initiatives today is more strategic, aligned with doing learning analysis, managing their entire learning services. We also have been providing certain learning administration services for customers. And custom e-learning, virtual reality is another big focus for us. So is our Credo learning platform. So some exciting times, and let's see how the year shapes up. I think we are still in the first quarter, and we'll look forward for that.
It seems like we just started the year, but and then in some ways it seems like
already a quarter gone.
It's been a really long year so far.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Suresh, for joining us or me today, and thank you everyone for tuning in. It's great to hear from you, and I enjoyed our discussion. Thanks again, and have an enjoyable rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I'll let you go enjoy. Have a nice day ahead, and looking forward to talking on the next podcast.
Yes, indeed. Take care.